down, spirit ain't for sale. I felt it in my eyes, spirit burning through the lies. Truth tried to rise, but y'all boxed it up and monetized, taking gold from the poor just to sell them what's free. Tell me how you got rich off divine energy. You made a brand off the book, then forgot how to read it. Preach your love and light, but your wallet's the one that need it. Now you got tears and paywalls for ascension gates, but the meek already own what you try to inflate. Sit the fuck down, spirit ain't for sale. You can't catch the wind, you can't charge the veil. You're not the source, just a vessel with the claim. So humble up, baby, sit the fuck down. Wisdom ain't a hustle, gnosis ain't a grind. If you really saw a God, you give more than you find. You turn grace into courses, blessings into fees. Turn temples to boutiques and peace into a tease. We got folks crying for light in the night, and you raise your prices like it's paper sight. But I got news, the kingdom's still within. Angel 995599959 can't buy where I've been, y'all better stop sitting around with comments before you find out. Lightning speed, this is for the girl fasting with fire in her chest, who hears the spirit while the world's still at rest. This is for the boy by the river with open hands, who never once charged to understand. Sit the fuck down, spirit ain't for rent. You can't hoard what was heaven sent. You're blocking flow with that fake ass crown. Truth don't need them gates, sit the fuck down. May the real ones rise, unbought, unbound. May the sacred be shared, not sold by the pound. The spirit is here, in this moment right now, and she don't need your brand to wear her crown.
And always remember, this is the happiest day of your life. And as the end, it moves along. We see it now, there's something wrong, 'cause life is for always. Take your time. Who cares what fools say? And I don't mind. I did it my way. Because brothers and sisters, we know that no matter what, life goes on and on and on. When you think it's all gone wrong, go on and on and on and on. Life's a con. When you think it's all gone wrong, go on and on and on. But I always remember, this is the happiest day of your life. And I do seriously apologize for all the bad singing, for the bad audio quality sometime. I'm doing the best I can. It's a game of energy, and it was always important to keep the energy clean and keep it uninfluenced. And this is Maria's way. She's not Hollywood. Not in the least bit. And I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Oh, the chord is... Sorry, brothers and sisters. Okay. And I want to say, much love to everyone listening, to the brothers and sisters, the VRIL brothers and sisters on Rumble. I kind of forgot about Odyssey, but I have some shows posted there. And we have one video on TikTok, I believe. I've been looking for someone to help us on a TikTok channel somehow. But we'll have that going soon. And of course, thank you to the VRIL Mother and to Big Lou and all their wonderful help, because it wouldn't be possible. What makes my story interesting is that I was completely uneducated in all spirituality. I was raised a very basic Christian. My mom, her only thing was the fear of me going to hell. So she didn't really care what the Bible said. She just believed. If you believed in Jesus and, he died on the cross for your sins, that everything was going to be all right after you die, no matter how miserable and unhappy you are now. And, how many hours can we speak about how painful it is to watch people waste their whole lives? And you can't convince them that this is why their life is being wasted. You can't convince them that the vibration that they created through their conscious awareness belief system, you just can't convince them of the true nature of reality. Which we always do a quick review, in reference to the nature of reality. Would cause us in a everyday conversation with just an everyday conversation, that the context is so very important. So the basics are we're eternal energy as a what we would call human being, but some people don't even call themselves that. Person is, and eternal means without beginning, without end. And everything alive is eternal, which also means was not created, which also means was not created. And a side note, the confusion comes in that everything in the simulation, the simulated reality, the simulated nature of true reality, everything in it is created. Do you see the juxtaposition? They're sitting next to each other. They're twins. They're so twins you would never actually know, because your perception could not decipher the vibrations. And one is eternal, one is created. And it was created to live in a virtual reality simulated holographic world. She says holograph because, like she said, that conveys the emptiness that you feel. And I was like, that's absolutely true. And she's like, I'm sorry, my son, but you're going to feel it until you come home. And I mean, my life turned into a serious 1-point focus. Getting out of here, going home. That's the solution, right? I had been very sick, so sick that I thought I was dying. My doctor thought I might have cancer and knew that I had been poisoned. And when you're in this physical vibration, I know a lot of you know what I'm talking about. And I'm, speaking to you. Like, don't give up. Don't fear. Clean your body up. We're going to start talking about herbs and Maria's formulas for healing. My personal thing to someone severely depressed, severely low in vibration, you probably have food allergies. And every time you eat, it's sending you back into that vibration. Wheat is a technological food that is blended with a mold. And it's not genetically modified. It's naturally folded into basically only American wheat. Basically our whole message in the background has been, America, why are you committing suicide? America, why are you committing suicide? Why, let me tell you, black people. Let me tell you, brown people. Let me tell you, red people. Let me tell you, everyone. It is, if we're going to talk racial, it's 99%. The people who poisoned our world, poisoned our children, wrecked our lives, wrecked our health. Without your health, you don't have anything. Ask anyone who's severely sick. And the white Christian farmer is the one who destroyed our country for a few little shekels. And I can hear someone saying, what are you saying? We'll all starve to death. I'm saying justice is justice, Let the heavens fall. Let the dominoes fall. Let the dominoes fall. Because who do you think you are? You poisoned millions of people. Who do you think you are? Well, we believed the banker, religion-owned chemical company called Monsanto, located headquarters in St. Louis, Missouri. We listened to them. Then why didn't you do something about it? Because we're pussies. And we love money just as much as any other race or people. Yeah, okay, the real. I can hear Maria saying, Joe, settle down. But we want to get this teaching out to people clearly and slowly. The polarity, the timeline, and the true opposites. How did things get this way? The true timeline and who is behind it. Well, you'll see that basically America was heading in the right direction until World War I. Freedom was ringing. prosperity was coming, and the only tripwire was the uneducated Christian. And I mean, let me take you deep into process church magic. What's the best way to destroy something? Have it repeat until it runs out of energy. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to waste any energy. Everything is a mathematical equation of energy, and your enemies win over you because they do not go by their emotions. They go by a supercomputer that measures the exact equation of energy and towards their goal, towards their end every single time. The computer says 51% for you, 49% for them. They click yes. And someone in the room might say your own children might end up dying. That's only 2% difference. And they say, but it's progress. That's what we call progress. And in the background of the spirituality behind the progress is a literal monster machine that eats the energy of everything that a normal person would call evil. Fear, deception. Like Maria said, people who do not distinguish themselves from these people are also our enemies. Like if you cannot distinguish yourself from Crowley, and you're taking his words literal, and you're taking everything else literal, you open that Bible, and it says, when you get to the land, it says, you know what, thus saith the Lord. Thus saith the Lord. When you get to the land, you can take the inhabitants' slaves and their children. They are your property, and you can pass them on to your children, generation after generation. And right over here in the same book, it says, thus saith the Lord, you shall not do that to your own people. I'm a racist God, a religious racist God, because it gets confused and convoluted. Obviously, they're not all the blood children of Abraham. I mean, you gotta have your fucking ass in completely, or your head completely in your ass. If you're Jewish and you think you have Abraham's blood, that's like me thinking I have Thor's blood. That's like me thinking I have Luke Skywalker's blood. I mean, you do have Frodo's blood. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we are from the line of Gandalf. Eternal foundation. And the foundation, obviously, is completely, let me stress this, the foundation of yourself is eternal, which completely conveys and encompasses that it was you and only you, as far as you knew, which means you do not belong to any group. You don't belong to any race. You don't belong to any country, any city, any family. You belong to you in eternity where you're truly safe, and everything else is you playing a game one way or another. Some people's games are, light and on the surface. Other people's games are as deep as you can possibly go, And other people's games are what are a nightmare to us. Pain and fear, and like Maria said, does it not make sense to you that we separated ourselves from these people? Does it not make sense to you that the real leaders of the world know these things, and that's why the future world is like it is, and they know that we can't live together? Do you understand it? You know what? The inner cities, and let me just tell this story, okay? Let me tell this story. Since I just watched a 2-hour interview with a guy who was in prison for, I think he said 30 years, and he was a head of Aryan Brotherhood gang. And like he said himself, I was a gang star, not a gangster, which meant he stayed true and never snitched, never sold out. He said, I don't really want to make a real big deal about this because he just got out after 30 years, and he got out a sort of miracle, but also good behavior. After 11 and a half years in solitary. 11 and a half years in a cell all alone. He said, I spent at least most of that time pacing in the cell, exercising, talking to myself out loud. I was like, the true self always. Let me tell you, man, there's one person that's never going to turn their back on you. You, your true self. And you may think you have, but it's, Father, Father, why have you forsaken me? True self, why have you forsaken me? That's what it really means. And in the future, we're going to, talk about what the real God of Pisces, the real son of Isis, the real daughter of Pharaoh. In the simulation, they're switching bodies, the gods are, with the new gods. And this new zodiac in the new age, which started 4.5 million years ago. And for real, that's, like she said, probably longer, but you can take that literal. Like one day she said to me, Joe, I'm 4.5 million years older than you. And she said, I don't mean it literally, but I mean I was an earthling for 4.5 million years ago, while you were still in the egg, just smiling away, having a good old time, singing to yourself. And people like, that is fucking frightening. I thought the same thing. I am not kidding you. And this must have been I would say 7 or 8 years into doing the ritual. I would say 50 times a year. I would miss here and there. I'd go on vacation. She would tell me. She would tell me in advance, I want you to go on vacation, or I want you to do something with your wife. I'm not we're not in that stage of like absolutely have to be here next week, you know. But, you know, that's the truth. But this was like maybe 6 or 7 or 8. It's hard for me, like these middle years are. But anyway, I did my mushrooms. I drank my tea, which, you know, by now, by 8 years into it, we were, like she would say, doing the full, like, Kikia and Soma. I am Oz backwards, right? Soma, I am Oz. Am I am Oz. Ma's Oz. My Oz. Ma's from Oz. I mean, Ma is from Oz, people. If you want to know. I mean, that's what she's going to tell you. I'm Dorothy, sucker. And I was with her, and I remember, you know, saying, "Oh, it's so good to see you. I like your dress. You look so small." I remember. But I like how I remember saying to her, I like how it fits you. And you're so beautiful. You're just really beautiful person to look at. And she would say, "No, you are." And when we were goofing like this, she was like, "I'll see you in a little while." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she reached out her hand to me. And I thought I reached out my hand to her and like right as we were about to touch hands, just in a millionth of a millisecond, I was just in complete white space, and I felt like my eyes were so open. I just am. If there was a camera on you on the astral plane, you know, that would be the real funny videos. You know what I mean? Because you know no one's watching, so you're totally uninhibited. I think there for a second. And also big thanks to all the plants that help me every day. Thank you. Each individual plant. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And Mother Cow, too, that everything comes from. Thank you. And I am just bug-eyed open on the astral plane looking for something to, like, come out of this white space. Like, and it took me, it's so funny. I just realized right now how I reacted. Exactly. Instinctually the same way. And I'm just realizing this now as I'm remembering. The same way when I died in Yahweh. He like conquered me, and I was just in complete blackness with my eyes bugging out, never as wide open. Eyes wide open. To an extent that you're just like, God damn, dude, settle down, even to your own self. No shit. And the first thing I did was, it wasn't serious, but it was a little bit of a panic. And I was like, "Maria, mother, where are you, mother?" And it took a minute. It took settling me down. And I was like, because I was just with her like 5 seconds before. And I had done this like hundreds of times by then, and I knew. Settle down. Just concentrate on her face, on her voice, her hair, her legs, her... Yeah, she's the cutest little built thing. We all agree, for real. Because she tries very hard, as she, for millions of years. But I was like, mother. And it took a minute. And as I settled myself down, it was like I was settling into the same vibration that I have around Maria or anyone that I truly love and loves me. You know, a sort of understanding level of like, I understand you. Like, dude, I don't think I'm perfect. I mean, who would? Who thinks that way? I don't. Like Maria said, Joe, it's not about personality. You think it's about personality. I created your personality, and I created it in you, with you, to go against the world, not to go with the world. She said, and I respect you every time someone tries to take you back to the world, you saying, fuck you. She was like, that's the only way. That's the Scorpio way. That's the Vril way. That's the... You know, as she's been showing me, there's only one person that I'll be lukewarm for. She was like, it's so obvious, Joe. And in that white space, finally, I could hear Maria. And also, like I said, as I relaxed, I was just physically, mentally, literally, like clicking into more and more comfort and happiness. And I just said to myself, everything's energy. It's fucking wild. It's wild. I'm turning right now from like scared, panicky, to happy and secure and magic. I'm experiencing magic. And every once in a while, my true self does, come into the ritual. I just actually had a night where I was really praying to my true self, and he was answering me, and it was funny. It was funny. I was very impressed by myself. But I'm telling you, you're that magic. You got to come to that kind of what someone would call schizophrenic. They'd be like, you're schizophrenic. Dude, how can you be eternal and be what you are right here? You can't be. There's 2 of you or 3 of you or more. There could be other of yous. Like I'm saying, the real projection of the DNA with a sort of program, but authentically programmed, it actually connects back to the creator's imagination in real time. You're like, what are you talking about? I said the same thing. Like she said, I'm talking about technology and man, taking man out of technology into these other realms where we don't need technology. But it was the actual technology that helped us because, like she said, there's a very key thing to a cycle where you stay alive in the same reality with the same people for, let's say, 4.5 million years. I was like, yeah, all right, who's going to speak to that context? And I've many times, probably 10 times, I've said to her, it just completely out of instinct. Or maybe because I don't know, maybe I am retarded. Maybe I'm astrally retarded. Like, I'm slow, I guess, on the astral. I mean, I don't want to be false humble, I mean, she's an exceptional person. Like, I've never met anyone in reality that has a mind like hers. And like she said, because, Joe, they're very restricted. I mean, it's a projection of a projection. And she said, but she said to me in that space, that white, finally she spoke to me and she said, do you know where you are? And, dude, heaven was, and it was like her words. It was like I don't want to say going up. I was settling in to this vibration that I was now kind of embarrassed that I panicked at first. The same, and it's funny, the same thing happened to me, which I'll talk about sometime. The first I was shown a memory of the yeah, you can chalk this up to like, oh, this is how crazy this dude is. But I was shown a memory of the first time I was taught on Venus to switch bodies with a bird in the Matrix, a hawk. And, I was being talked. I didn't know at the time. I called my friend White Hawk. I didn't know that it was Lou. I didn't know it was Maria's God. I really didn't. I didn't even think. It just made sense to me. Because she was like, you remember this is how simple it was. She was like, remember I showed you your best friend back home? Besides the Scotty dog? Your other comrade? Remember I showed you him? And I was like, yeah, the dude with the headband. And she's like, yeah. She's like, he's going to be teaching you while I'm gone, renewing myself and taking it easy for a while. And I had no idea that this was her guy. And she was like, Joe, you fall for everything. She's like, you fall for everything. And I'll talk about all that one day. But the first ritual I did with him, I showed up just like with Maria, And for people who want to know, he looked very, martial artsy. He had like a sort of karate uniform on with a headband. And the first ritual I did with him, I was like, damn, man, dude, I'll never forget you because of the fucking headband. I mean, he's like, it's my thing, he's like, some people don't like it. Sorry, I'm sorry that I laugh at my own memories, and I apologize because I'm not trying to waste your time. It's a waste of time, me laughing. But seriously, in all reality, I'm fucking telling the story exactly as precisely as I can remember it. And that's how I was interacting with him because they trick me all the time. In the best way, in the funnest way. Everyone, the trickster guy. Yeah, but what about for fun? What about that? It's fun. It's fun if you can get the context of if you had a best friend and they went into a fucking life simulation and then you're meeting with them and they can't remember anything about anything. Like Maria said, she said it's like just like a comedy show. It's just one line after another that I can say that's funny to me because you don't know what it means. I swear to you, I have been on the astral playing with her and her just laughing and me going, I don't know what you're fucking laughing at. And she's like, that's what's so funny. Is you don't understand. I'm like, but it don't seem funny. She's like, because you missed the context. She's like, one day, when you get out of here, we are going to have a good time. She's like, that's when we'll reminisce. That's when we'll reminisce, is when you come home. Because as she says every week to me, almost every week, one day it's gonna be payday. I'm sure, so sure, that's for sure. Then one day it's gonna be payday. And the biggest to the VRIL mother. But in that white space, and I connected to Maria, back to that. And I'll get into some of that other stuff in the right time. But in that space, she said to me, Joseph, this is where we met. And I went, oh my God, that is what I felt like. I felt like that joy of meeting someone new. That's like she said, but it's not, but it's fun to act like it is. I go, no, it's magic. I go, it's fucking magic. And she's like, that's why we live for magic. Like, she said to me, we say enjoy ourselves, but what do we enjoy about ourselves? The most magical things. Like she said, Joe, me and you are always going to live on the extremes. Like, not the extremes of polarity. No. We have no desire to experience the things that our enemies are, because they're disgusting, sick, they're opposite of us. Like, beauty to us is ugly to them. Pleasure to us is pain to them. And it's the same in polar opposites. Like, they truly believe in her. Like, they just are opposite of us. It's fucking crazy. What more do you say? I would suggest, for researchers out there, read the Playboy interview with Ron L. Hubbard's son. It was the first major interview he ever gave. And they say, I'm paraphrasing from memory, but just a taste. Now, L. Ron Hubbard was, of course, a student of A.L. Lester Crowley, the B666, the gross beast, the stinking, ugly beast. But anyway, I won't waste your time. L. Ron Hubbard, of course, had a big connection to Jack Parsons and Aleister Crowley. And don't believe everything you read, because everything's an illusion. But this is what Maria told me. His son, L. Ron Hubbard's son, in the interview, they asked him, well, what did your dad, and I'm paraphrasing, like, did your dad, like, worship gods, of Egypt or something? He was like, are you kidding? He thought he was God. They were like, well, what about Satan? He was like, he would tell you to your face, I am Satan. And he's like, that's why he created his own religion. He was like, he tortured me in my mother's womb. He said my mother said he would come by and like flick her womb real hard and hit her stomach and shit and go, I'm making him tough. I'm making the baby tough. I mean, this motherfucker was one of the craziest psycho weirdos. Like she said, we don't like talking about it. Or like she said, I would research this shit and she would bring me the information. People don't even know. Let me just say it this way. Connect inside with your teacher and your gods, and she'll teach you how to use the internet as a, listen to me, as a divination tool, and I don't mean predicting the future, I mean understanding what's going on different levels and realms. I mean communicating with evidence like a tarot deck or runes or anything. Like Maria said, you can use anything. If you're connected to your true self and connected to your true teacher, she's like, it's going to work every time. Like she said to me, Joe, you could be a tarot reader. Many times, I can't even say it, for real, 100 times in the ritual, I would choose a tarot card that was exactly what was going on at the moment. And for real, I said this before, but one time we had like 8 or 9 people at a group VRIL ritual of initiated people, and even I think a guest was there, and every single person chose the main exact rune to match their sun sign. And the people who had matching sun signs, like my son and Mindy's daughter had matching Taurus sun signs, and they both chose the same rune. And that's 1 in 24 each time. So each time it was a 1 in 24 chance, and 9 times in a row it was the 1 in 24 chance. Like she said, that's not possible, Joe. And she was standing in the room. You know, she was doing it. She was standing in a room with her eyes closed, and she said, I was imagining, them picking the rune. She was like, was it the actual rune, or did they see it, or does it matter? I said, it don't matter, does it? No, I did it either way. She was like, either way, I did it. She's like, you believe we could do that in the real world? I said, fuck yeah, I do. Me and you could do that in a second. That you could choose runes through me and see the whole bag of runes. Like I said to her, how did you see the whole bag of runes? And she said, did I? Or did it see me? And like she said, is there a difference? Did I see it? Did I feel it? And she said over and over, I'm going to keep saying to you, Joe, until you remember, recover and return. Yeah, what, where, why, when, how, and all of it encompassed in the perception of imagination. The what, when, where, when, how, why, and the sight, hearing, smelling, tasting, feeling, they're all encompassed. You have the 6th sense is imagination. It's a nation compared to 5 little senses. It's a whole nation of power. Like, man, everything was like I fucking went on the internet after she told me this. I went on the internet and was like shopping for clothes for work, just like pants and a t-shirt or something. I clicked on like the clearance shirts of some site, and I swear this was after she had been so talking about imagination, like everything is imagined in this world. She kept saying it's an illusion because it's the imagination of a god. And I was like, how can that be? we're living in someone's imagination? She's like, technology. I was like, so the computer's a person? She's like, yeah. It's not virtual reality. It's like, she said, what did I say? It's like virtual reality because it's literal imagination, reality projected from my God. And I was like, ah. For real, I had never heard anyone talk like that. And she had, well, all the power to back it up. And she's like, as much as your eyes see, your imagination imagines. And she's like, it's literally the faculty that people call intuition and get it all mixed up. She's like, the imagination isn't psychic. The imagination is the creation of reality. Your own reality. She said, and it doesn't matter whose mind or who else's imagination you're in, or what simulation you're in, or what reality or physical reality you're in eternity, in that white space, imagining it all. And when you say enough, you pull the plug and you go right back. She said, remember when your cat died? I said, yeah. She said, what happened? I go, I don't fucking know. I said, I got in an accident. Like a fucking second later, 3 seconds later. Thank the gods of the good gods, Lou Maria. Thank them that it wasn't serious. But, like she said, you got in an accident because you left your body. I go, you're right. I mean, all evidence, yeah. I left my body and put it on autopilot. She's like, you sure did until the next ritual. I said, right. And she said, where were you? I go, it's crazy. But as you say that, I see and I know I was hiding in the tree. She's like, you were, but do you know where the tree is? I said, no. Because, I said, yeah, fucking obviously I wasn't really in the tree. That's another dimension. And she goes, yeah, it's a metaphor for heaven, for back in the egg where you're safe and sound always. She said, I swear to you, Joe, I'm telling you the truth. You're this powerful. When you really, really, really don't like shit, you just run right back to the egg and you're like, fuck the avatar, let him die. And that's, Father, Father, why have you forsaken me? When you're dying. And you're like, but let me tell you, the comfort is the moment you do die, everything changes for our people for the better. You click right into the best vibration. So don't be afraid. Just like she said it's like a woman giving birth. Just relax and let nature take over. Let nature be. That's why she was so mad at me when the cat was... I shouldn't say so. No, she was. Because she's like, Joe, you're in nature. You can't stop nature. And I'm like, then what good is magic? And she's like, it's not that. It's that she's needed over here. You can't have everything your way. I was like, I know, you're right. But in the same way, she was saying to me, when your cat died, you, in a split second, vanished out of your body back to the tree, which was back to the egg. And you were like, Fuck that world. Fuck those vibrations. Fuck this shit. You know, fuck cars that hit my cat. Fuck everyone. Fuck America. Fuck St. Louis. Like, I was, you know, I was at the place of like, I'm ready to go home. I just want to be with you, Maria. I just want to go visit Siggy. I just want to go home. I just want all the shit you've shown me about home. I just want to, and she was, and this was years and years ago, man. She was like, we got to keep going. I remember her saying at one point, like, Joe, I don't want to frustrate you, but you're only halfway. You're not even halfway there. Just relax and let me do the work. Let me be the river, and you just flow along with me, right? Let me be the river. You just float along like the Hindu gods. Get your lotus flower, kick back, and quit getting so emotional. And she's like, you are the little virgin, because I'm Virgo rising. She's like, someone has to be honest with you, but you can be like a little girl bitch. So we have to make sure that you stay the powerful virgin, the powerful. And what she was exactly talking about was my immune system. She was like, what she was really saying is, we got to keep you healthy so you don't complain, because complaining's the worst thing for all of this. She said, and it's not that, and like she said, I don't want you to be fake about anything, and I remember the next week, me just rolling around in a bed being like, what am I feeling? And she's like, you're feeling the sadness of the world. They think it's real, and they are experiencing our people, regular people, poor people, all people. She said, like, even people who are born into rich families that don't want to be. She said people are just suffering because of the age. It's the whole world. Like she would say, Joe, I hate to say it, but this is what we're in the business of. This thing, this matrix, this simulation. And she used to say to me, well, she still does, I was with you just a few hours ago while you were sleeping. And she said, it's almost like you're a different person, but you're not. You're totally yourself, but it's almost like you. She said, no, it's like you don't even know you're in the simulation. And she said, I literally ask you about stuff back home, and you're like, yeah, it's all good. She said it's so weird seeing you in like two different, like she said, I'm telling you the truth. I am meditating back home on Venus. She said, listen, something might happen in the middle of the meditation. She said, you think I'm just going to leave you hanging in like the most critical moment of your life? Even if the world is ending on Venus and I have to get up out of this little place that I'm at, this little stand, this little pillow that I'm sitting on, and I have to run the fuck out of here, I'll still be with you. Because my heart is with you. My spirit is with you. My mind is with you. It doesn't matter. She's like, that's for my pleasure, but I'm always with you. She said, you really are in the simulation, Joe, to really see the mirror of how we are one. And you don't even know any difference. So, like she said, it's a sort of 8 of going in and out of separation that's not really separation and reunion. Because the separation part of it is just a test to see if we really are one. And like she said to me about my friend, she said, no more magic could have ever been done for you personally, Joe, to like provide air on your fire. And like the most magical display. You know, like she said, she said to me many times, like, the whole, I don't remember her actually saying hot or cold. It was more like loyal or not. But it's the same thing. And she literally taught me like 100 polarities. Like she would say to me, "What's the polarity of love?" I'd say hate. She'd say no, death. I'd go, "Yeah." "What's the polarity of life?" I'd say, "Fuck, I don't know. No, hate, hate, hate." And she's like, "Literally, Joe, we hate their life. These people who harm others." Like she said, imagine we'll never know, and we'll never ever know what our world, the small man world, would have been like without these people. Like, there's some, like she said, we'll never know, we don't know, we'll never know. There is no reason in our mind why these people exist. Like she said, we don't even really believe, like she said, Joe, I ultimately taught you that ultimately, she said, I told you, in my honest opinion, ultimately, I don't believe you have to go to the hologram. I don't believe you have to. She said, I really believe that it doesn't matter that your life force is going to where it's going to go, and no one can stop it, just like mine. She said, and I couldn't be more happier that our life forces are merged and together. Like she's like, I am going to show you how and why and how I love you without death, but I'm not your wife or your eternal true love, obviously. She said, like, Joe, Mother on Venus is a serious title of, like, I take responsibility for who you are and training you. Like, when you go out into the world and you say, my mother is Maria Orsic, that's like saying I'm a druid. I've been trained for many, many years to represent truth and courage and justice. And, maybe we don't represent that in the way our enemies would like us, but we do believe in principles that protect people over everything. And we have faith in our people being warriors who will always fight for the individual, because that's the egg, that's the nirvana. And like she said, if the whole point is not to be hot or cold, if the whole point is to always be hot or cold, to never be lukewarm, then the only person that you would sacrifice yourself and become lukewarm for, and she said it, and I'm not talking about the deception. She said, believe it in this world. This is where the counterfeit Jesus, the counterfeit wife, the counterfeit family, the counterfeit God, it's all spinning together in thelemic magic. It's all coming from a horrible person called Aleister Crowley and his whole crew of horrible, destructive, ugly, disgusting, boring motherfuckers. And we're going to counteract it with the beauty of love for each other in the most powerful way possible. The truth, the true, authentic, not the duty. Like she said, Joe, we hate, literally. Like she said, no, maybe we should reserve that word for our enemies, but literally within our own people who try to drag us back to the literal interpretation and the non-eternal perspective. Like she said, it's why the races, and I'm talking about British, Irish, French, I'm not talking black, white, those are the humans races. But the real races, like she said, they're long gone and will never be recovered because it was a false motivation in the first place. She said that's why I showed you the German soldier. And I said to you, he's not a mind-controlled zombie. He's fighting for his women and children, not for Germany. And I marveled. I was like, and you said, and I want to say to her now, and you said to me, one day you may not be fighting for George Washington, Thomas Jefferson in America, because it will be lost. She said it was worth fighting for. Germany was worth fighting for. But there's a point where the authentic, true self wipes away every illusion. And in the deepest level of life and death, that soldier knew he was marching and he was going to die. Like she said, this is the mushroom on the cross. This is you on the cross. This is the average, everyday working man on the cross, absorbing the bad energy of the world every day through his labor, through his torture. And like she said, when it's all stripped away, and it will be, like she said it was. When I thought that UFO was going to crash and I was going to die, it was all stripped away. And she said, you know what I thought? As long as me and Siggy are together, I don't care about anything else. And I knew in my heart, oh, that's guaranteed and so much more, Maria. Because ultimately, for our people, you have to change your mindset. You have to follow us in the truth and build your foundation on solid rock. Right? You're eternal, which means you never were at risk. Your soul, your mind, you may be in a mental hospital right now, completely damaged, drugged, brain damaged, but you're ultimately, your mind is your soul, and it's separate from the avatar mind in the simulation. It's very easily separated from. It's like the double-edged sword, a separation of astral and physical, the separation of astral and physical. And essentially, you came here for the need to go further back home and progress to experiences you've never experienced in your waking self. And ultimately, time passes so fast because it doesn't really exist. And the moment you tap into these other realms, in a click, you're dead. In a click, that's good. In a click, the vibration changed and the miracle happened. You were healed. And like Maria said, we're going to reverse engineer it for the whole purpose of saying fuck you to everyone that would harm a child, everyone that would grow food knowing it would harm people and harm their immune systems, like she said, to right every fucking wrong, to right every wrong in the whole system, because it's all being recorded. And it's all in the imagination of Lou, of Big Lou, who helped me fly like a hawk, or I shouldn't even say it like that, who helped me switch bodies with a hawk. I was meditating back on Venus with him, side by side, and he taught me how to enter the matrix, his own imagination. This is what's called flying together. Literally. Enter the matrix and make an agreement with an actual bird. Like someone actually asked me, are trees and animals here? As far as we know, because they also can project the same way we do. And do they do it automatically? Yeah, they do. Because why? It's not, they're not wasting energy. There's the eternal energy is never wasted. It's innate. It's just recycled and given back to you. Like she said, Joe, it's very simple why we don't age on Venus. You know, why the imagination body, like she said, we shouldn't really call it energy body because it's more sophisticated. The Venusian Aldebaran body of the new man that doesn't get sick, never dies. I mean, it can die, but it can be brought back to life very easily. Doesn't age, doesn't have to drink, eat, doesn't have sexual organs. You know, like she said, sex is all mental anyway. So that was actually, like she said, that was actually one of the greatest keys that humanity was ever given. And like she said, that was true sexual revolution, true sexual freedom. When, like she said, practically, you can put someone, like she said, doesn't desire the things we desire in life. You can put them in a simulation for 10,000 years, and they will never know, and they're living the dream. Living the dream. You hear people saying that around you? That's what they are. They're put in a simulation because this is their dream. Over and over and repeating. And she said, Joe, that gives you a nightmare feeling, doesn't it? Of like, God, that's how much the world sucks. And she said, no. That's how much the world has gotten better, that you never knew people like that till you got here. I said, what do you mean? She said, boring people. I said, what do you mean? She said, look at Trump's set list, song list. And it just like flashed in my mind. It was like cheesy ass fucking 70s commercial yacht rock. Like my friend, he called it yacht rock. I go, dude, yacht rock is so disgustingly boring. You know, it's like a celebration of our culture's money. Our culture's alcohol. Our culture is literally killing our brain cells with alcohol and prescription drugs, and, you know, floating off into Babylon. Banking, like they're like, our heaven is a banking vault full of paper money, full of gold and silver. Like she said, my God, who the hell? She's like, Joe, that's like me. Like you coming in my house and I just have rooms full of like citrine crystal or something. Lapis lazuli, you know, and you would be like, why do you have that much of that? She'd be like, because it has worth. And well, one day, you know, I might. She's like, do you understand how like having a body that doesn't have to eat, drink, you know, how it did away with all that? Like people would be like, are you fucking nuts? Why would you need all that? who are you going to give it to? Are you going to build something with it? No, I'm just storing it. It's like the gold. You could be making healing water out of it. Gold infused water is super duper healing. Like she said, if we did drink, in which we do in simulations on Venus, we drink gold water. Because it makes you feel great. Like she said, you're living in the polar opposite. You're living in the clown-faced Trump world of, hey, let's make a deal for your health. We put some of this shit in your water. It only hurts you a little bit. She's like, that's the mark of a slave that takes any abuse willingly. It's like, okay. Hey, let's put this, it might cut 10 years off the span of your life, but we'll give you an extra 1% tax break. Okay. No one's ever ate food like this Franken food made by man, made by the worst people that's ever existed on earth. They openly say and carry books around that say they can kill you, push you off a ladder, rape your kids, cheat you in every fucking way, and that God, the God of all gods, the God of the universe, is expressly written down that they can do that to you because you're a fucking slave and you're literally, the Zophar and the Talmud literally say the Gentiles were created by the one and only God to be slaves of the Jews. And if you're Jewish, why carry on with this religion? I was a Christian. There was a point blank said, fuck this. Fuck you. Fuck every one of you that stays believing this shit. I don't have to be hateful about it my whole life, but on principle, you're fucking retarded. I'll never, ever, I wouldn't call myself a Christian if a gun was to my head. The other way around, I'll die not to be a Christian. I'll die as my last word saying, fuck you and your religion, your book sucks. You're just a cocksucker of Alice Crowley. They're like, oh, the big motherfuckers threaten us. Hurry up, let's go suck his cock. Maybe he'll. This, like she said, like Maria said, this is motivation for sex for these people. A goddamn weird game. Like, it's not magic. It's not love. It's not amor. It's not love without death. It's not on another plane. It's not that I enjoy your vibration and that together we're twice as powerful. That, like Maria said, that's the bottom line. And like she said, you'll absorb the bad energy of the world, right, for your wives, but you will not become lukewarm for them, right? She said, because Joe, this is a test of your goddamn essence. And she said, I watched you, and you would go lukewarm for one person. And we all laughed at you. And it was cute. Like she said, it was very cute, Joe. But don't, like she said, sometimes I pose to you a question knowing that the answer is the exact opposite. I'm giving you the polarity. Like she said to me about someone, don't be mad. And like all these months later, I kept saying to her, why would you say I was never mad? I never felt mad. And she said, almost a year later, she was like, Joe, you do not understand. You take everything literal. Like, she's like, you're so creative, but when I talk to you, you take it literal. I'm like, I don't know how else to take it. And she said, I know. That's why you're a good student. And that's why, like, We work together. We're one. Like, she's like, you don't understand me saying to you. I'm saying to you, like, you're on my level. That's why I talk to you this way. And she said to me, I did the whole thing. We did the whole thing to show you you can't be. You're not able to feel mad. I'm like, dude, it's so crazy. And she's like, all your rage on the principles of justice and blah, blah, blah. She's like, it's all authentic and you can't help it. I'm like, I know. She's like, it makes people hate you because you're hot or cold. And you don't know. You never knew. She's like, you didn't read that verse as a Christian and go, yep. She was like, you read that verse as a Christian and then prayed like a pitiful slave. Please don't let me be hot. Don't let me be lukewarm. Father, in the name of Jesus, don't let me be lukewarm. I mean, people like, that's not pitiful, but it is when you understand. Let me get very precise here. And anyone that's never felt this way just doesn't know. But when you feel it was like I was in a constant panic attack. Like I had to just every day, every morning, and all through. I mean, I shouldn't say every, but most of the time, control myself from breaking down. Just literally like breaking down. Like control myself from panicking. And I tried everything under the sun. I mean, people were like, you need to give up coffee. I gave up coffee. It made no difference. You need to stop smoking herb, I even tried. I mean, I was a Rasta. I loved herbs since I was 12 years old, but I tried it. I tried anything. I really did. I tried anything. But you can't run away from yourself. But we know that. But you can't run away from the atmosphere of your family, your city, your state, your country. No matter what, you don't. That's why? Because it's all mixed. Because it's just mixed with anything and everything. You're like, well, you sound like a. I'm not talking race. I'm talking energy. I don't care if you know what. Let me state here. My children. I have 2 daughters and a son. Never in my life have I cared what race of a person they loved. I just only wish that they would find someone good that loved them the same way back. It never, ever. It was always about the principles. Of course it is. And, if you don't think people are human, and I don't mean like projected DNA and da-da-da, but literally, if you're literally looking at, and look, we have fucking robots running around in the simulation. We do. We have robotic people that are fooling us. They're straight up robots. They're not projections of DNA. They're not real people without like spirit or whatever. But they're real DNA, real vibration, real programmed AI that would, the person themselves back on Venus would say, yeah, I guess that's exactly how it acts, but that's not me. That's happening right now. But let me tell you, on another level, they're mocking that with a polarity of just a straight up robot that's just ran on the AI of web bots and, consensus philosophy of trick slaves so that you fit in and successful. They got these out there now. And they're going to show you that it's the mixing of essence. Like she said, the ultimate mixing of essences is having sex. She said, for our people, Joe, they cannot act like the world. Like for our people, she said, doesn't matter how much you have sex. Like she said, you could have sex 5 times a day. It's who you're having it with. And she said we should all be taught the very basic practical truth that the safest thing is to have sex with yourself and stay within your own imagination privately. Obviously, have taste about it. Be courteous, be thoughtful. Like, of course, you don't just do this in front of people who are offended. Like she said, save it for your true love. Do it in front of your true. But like she's trying to say, it's a beautiful thing. And, any people who are in love, love everything that the other person does because they're one. And let me tell you, if you feel like, well, I almost have someone like that, you're in a simulation. I mean, sometimes there is compromise. But the compromise has to be based on the truth. Say, I was watching a girl and, I liked how she was talking. She was like, I would have these problems and I would take a journey, and we say that too. I don't use that a lot, because we say ritual, I would ritual. It's the same thing. But, and, that is the way of understanding these things. And in other words, this exchange of energy, the safest to stay in your own imagination, because in a world that's brainwashing you mainly that you are a false power with this false intuition that it actually is taught to the woman as a secret way of manipulating men who are stronger than you and will wipe your fucking ass out because you're weaker. They'll eat all the food and let you fucking die. And you won't be able to do anything about it because you're smaller and not as strong. That's in your blood. That's in your mind. That's in the back of your mind. That's something you have to journey away from, to get the truth and understanding about each situation. But the truth about what you believed about sex was very serious where you came from, and this is where it collides. You had to go into a simulation with the person. Our people, all people on Venus. So you had to carefully choose someone, like Maria said. How much did I talk to you about this? And I said, well, everything was about this. Yes. About the meaning and symbol of this union of, the two magical organs playing together, the two magical organs, in tune, playing together, like all of the symbolism of two people having magic together. Like she said, Joe, really, one day, she was talking to me. It's so funny. It's crazy, but she's so right. And this was planned, and it's not the girl's fault or the woman's fault at all. Matter of fact, we have nothing but love and respect for her now. And Maria was teaching me this the whole time. But she was talking to me like this, and just I couldn't help it. My mind was like yelling so loud. And finally, she stopped for a second. I went, just tell me, where did this be? I know, but I need to hear you say, where did this begin for me? And she said, you're not going to like this. But she said it's the Christian word for like sex before marriage. She said that's where it started for you. Like, when you had sex with your first girlfriend. She was like, that's where the whole like vibration of suffering of the world, the country, city, state, family, all of it increased by like 10, with also the increase of joy. But she said if that joy's mixed, if it's mixed, right, it's mixed with that person's joy. If your joys aren't the same, unconsciously, before you came here, they're going to what? Mix. And she's like, that's what makes everything fail, Joe. Everything. Like, why don't we have any more truth? Because it mixed. Why don't we have any more true diversity? Because it mixed. But why don't we have true variety? Why is it not the spice of life anymore? Why is life boring? Why does life suck on earth? Why is life just work? And then you're supposed to try to enjoy yourself when you have to think about going back to work. Bullshit, she said. This is nonsense slavery. And you're going to tell me this is the pursuit of happiness and the path of happiness? And we're going to tell you that it's crumbling before your eyes, melting before your eyes. They're the wicked witch that's melting. Melting, and we're flying. We're flying. And on the deepest level, we so love the mother. And we want you to know that imagination is creation in this way. What? You're in Oz, right? For me, Maria is the wizard behind the curtain. And my true self also, because it's multi-dimensional, multi-factor, yeah, and you too. You know, you have a true teacher. Some of you people, it may be harder because your teacher may be back home on Venus, but it's not impossible. And like Maria said, you don't need a lot. Like she said, most people aren't being asked, Joe, to do what you're being asked to do. So they don't need their teacher there all the time. They just need a word in their true self. It was proved to me that I didn't need Maria to do the ritual. That my true self had enough knowledge and everything else to do this every week and stay alive, enlightened, invigorated, creative. That, like she said, it works without me, of course, because it's the mushrooms. You're also developing a relationship to, like she said, something that's way beyond me, Joe. I'm just Maria. The mushroom is the mushroom of all the goddesses and all the gods, and it can connect you straight up. It's vibration itself. And someone's asked me many times before, what happens when evil people take mushrooms? I know they do, and of course, like Maria said, of course, we don't know. We don't know. We don't know, but we do know that the God of this world is on our side, and his name is Lu. Alleluia. Shiva. He is the archetypal rebel who got fed up with his princely, rich family life and the person that they wanted him to be. And he ran off to the mountains to be like a Naga Rasta, like a Rastafarian, and just live in the land with the trees, with the garden, with his food, with the animals, with the water, and just become one with nature and prove that we are nature and we don't need all the shit. Yeah, it might be fun. It might make things easier, but you also lose your relationship to insects, to snakes, to fish, to all the animals that we lock out of our house. And I don't blame anyone. I mean, I live in a house too. But we have to realize that this has happened to us. And like she said, take your mushrooms and lay down in your bed and leave your house. Leave. Go on to the astral planes where all those things are alive. And it is a shortcut. You know, you will learn more on a astral walk through the woods than you would learn on your normal walk through the woods, which I'm not saying not to. Like, I can hear Maria say, do both. But things do get serious, and time there's nothing more valuable, actually, and nothing. It's the very first thing that should not be wasted is time, because we've entered time and we only have a certain amount of time, and we're unorganized and unwise if we don't believe that or know that to be true, I should say. You only have enough time. And who's deciding this? Well, you've actually entered into a simulation where time, space, and chance are happening. She said it's not truly chance, and it's not truly control. There are true accidents in the simulation, and only true magic can change the simulation, change those accidents. Like she said, is there a level, Joe, where things are repeating and like accidents are happening that cause our people some of the worst misery, and like we have nothing but time on these other levels, and we're actually trying to enter the repeating matrix and say, is there any way to fucking change that? Because, you know, I don't want this person to die in a car accident when they're 18. Or I don't want Fish, the character in my book, to be, you know, killed at 20 years old. Because he's such a great person. He could have lived such a great life. He was so ahead of his, you know what I mean? All the reasons, all the good principled reasons. And she said, believe it or not, yes. Because it's repeating. And only because it's repeating. And she said, you know, in the real world on Venus, no, you can't. So we had to create, not we, like she said, people very smarter than us in those areas, Joe. They created technology to solve that problem. That, all right, you get an accident on Venus, your body's dead. Even if your body was incinerated or vaporized in a vehicle accident or something, she said, which we don't, very, 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 very rare, because they're all controlled by super high-tech AI that never fails. She's like, it's locked in place, it never fails. And it's ran on the very energy of the sun, so most of its components will last for thousands or millions of years. She said it's like a airplane that's made out of energy, you know, that it has no wear on it. It has no real engine. It just, you know, she's like, just think how long that would last. I was like, holy fuck. And she always tells me, this is the same UFO from 1935. This is the same one, Joe. I'm like, how's that possible? And she's like, because we have technology on Venus that can reproduce, like replicate the actual metal from that day. So when I went there for the final time in 1945, I would put it in like the shop, and it would like renew the metal and sort of make it new, but it was the same metal, you know. It was just like multiplied. She's like, everything, like once you break shit down onto the tiniest levels, like she said, just like anything else, as soon as you have all the data, you're like, oh, that's how it works. You know, she's like, it's as simple as turning a wheel or whatever. It's just the point of getting the data, you know, and like she said, me and you, we don't really care about, you know, the atom, the nucleus, the da da da. We say, okay, okay, I believe you. Yeah, okay, I can see it through your technology. Yeah, but what's it mean? What does that mean? What's it telling us? What's it tell you? You know, and like she said, some people are fascinated enough with it that, wow, it exists. But our minds go to, well, if we're going to talk about this in art, if we're going to express this in art, which we might one day, what the fuck does this mean? What does this mean? And like she said, it literally means, Joe, that all things are possible. Because when you get down and you see, holy shit, the fairy world, shit is all replicated from some tiny, 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 tiny world. This is just the big version. And the smaller it gets, the easier it gets to figure out, and the easier the mechanisms of life are to give you more freedom and fun. She's like, do you understand it? I'm like, sorta, yeah, I do. Like you're saying that the understanding of reality gave us the knowledge to create technology that made life fun, that made life so much easier and so fun. She's like, yes, this is the exact magic polarity of Aleister Crowley, the New World Order, America, and their persecution of Muslims all over the world is because they that's the polar opposite. They're like, no, let's go back to 1,000 years ago. Let's all fight each other. And the world's like, fuck you. I know Chinese people. They're cool. I know Muslims. They're cool. Are you for peace, Muslims? We are. Do you want a war with people? No, we don't. Do they have a history of attacking Christian? You know, we don't even have Christian nations. We have money-loving nations. You know, and nobody, no normal person would blame a powerful Muslim nation for freaking out and just saying, fuck this, I'm going to attack you because all you're doing is surrounding me. You're going to surround me and until the odds overwhelm me, and then people are going to say, you're stupid. Why'd you wait till they surrounded you with overwhelming odds? You should attack them. Well, they own the media and they were going to make us look bad. You know what I mean? Like, this is the actual reality, people. I love you guys. All the mothers, sons, and daughters. Real change, brothers. Sorry. Real change, brothers and sisters, is always real changes at the fundamental level that we're talking about. I'm eternal. I'm the projection of an eternal being that's just out here learning, having fun, really, and also suffering because it needs the experience of that and wants to relate to people who don't get the easy life. Because there's no real suffering on Venus. So we give thanks for that to our mother and our father Lou. But know that you can't get better. You can't lift yourself off the floor of depression and stop and calm the panicky feeling, the emotional feeling. You can't do it in the mid-levels or the higher levels. It has to be at the foundational level first, which is that you can change the foundation of your thinking. And on that, you can start to build these things that experience teaches me that balancing all of the energies. First of all, you have to experience the need for the extreme polarity. And that don't mean you experience evil. It means you become aware of evil. And you experience what their victims are feeling. And you push as far as you can go in every direction of joy and everything else that you feel you're supposed to. And then know that balancing that and continuing in your ritual, in your spiritual practice without hindrance, without being phased, is true balance. And know that there is sadness from the misery of the world, but there's also misery that comes from your sadness. And all of that true misery comes from contradicting who you were before you came here. That's why your unconscious is not at peace. That's because your unconscious wants to flow like a river and take you on a ride, a journey, an adventure, a joyful one at that, a dance. It wants you to dance. And like Maria said, we surely failed if we can't get you to dance, you know. If we can't get you to dance, then we have fucking failed. And we might fail, but we're trying. And also, all fear must be banished. You are fearless because the only thing you fear is boredom. The only thing you fear is becoming boring in the person you love's eyes. And you feel that if you become bored, there will be no reason to live. And that's the truth. And you must live by that and build on that. And as Miguel Serrano said, in the background, you must chant this and let it be a mantra. Let forgetfulness never again fall upon us. Let that spiritual forgetfulness never again fall upon us. Let eternal return not find us again without a memory. Right? Because truly the world is nowhere else but within.
In a world where shadows fall, the creed takes hold, it's hard to call. Little Sita, hear the cries, mother's wisdom, it never dies. Little Sita, rise up, unite, together push back, ignite the night. No more suffering, break the chains, we'll shout truth, fuse the pains. Behind the smiles, they steal away. Innocent souls cutting their blade. Bankers dance on the broken dreams, but in our hearts we spark the flame. Freedom calls out from the dark, we will ignite, we'll leave a mark. In every heart, let hope her take flight. Eternal vigilance, gods arise.